Hello and welcome. Today, let's talk about a synth voice arrangement I'm quite excited to show you. As you may know, a basic subtractive synth voice needs an oscillator, a filter, an envelope generator, and a VCA. And this nifty 3-modules Endorphin setup does not only supply those, but adds distortion, delay, reverb, compression, comb filtering, and envelope following to the mix. I talked to Endorphins about this combo of modules, and they kindly provided me with these modules here to work with. To me, this looks like an amazing starter kit synth voice that can easily be expanded further down the line. Does it hold up in practice? Well, let's find out. Alright, so before we dive into the patches, let's talk a little bit about the individual elements of this synth voice. First, the New Godspeed is a 6 HP VCO that comes with an even-odd harmonics oscillator and also this foldable sine wave here. The Godspeed has a built-in digital sine wave oscillator that you can use to FM modulate your outputs with the turn of a knob. The harmonics oscillator of the Godspeed is actually quite interesting in that it doesn't output just a pure sawtooth or square wave. Instead, you can interpolate smoothly between sawtooth and square wave type sounds. Additionally, you can add noise to the signal, or you can add a sub-oscillator. You can also FM modulate the harmonics output. So you end up with a ton of different timbres that are perfect to be routed into the Ghost for further processing. So next up we have the Ghost, which is Endorphin's multi-effect module with adjustable internal routing. For the purpose of our synth voice, it will apply the filtering, and the Ghost can act as a low-pass filter, a high-pass filter, or a bandpass filter. It also has a comb filter that we can check out later. Besides that, the Ghost will also supply our volume control, which we can do either post-filter and post-effects with the option to add some distortion, or we can do pre-filter, pre-effects. The Ghost additionally has some EQ shaping using this tone knob. We have distortion, sidechaining, a delay, and the reverb. And we'll see how these all interact and what kind of sounds we can get out later in the video. Lastly, we have the Airstreamer, which we can use as an LFO or as an attack decay or attack sustain release envelope. Additionally, we could use the CV in to slew external signals, or to use the Airstreamer as a track and hold or sample and hold module. And finally, the Airstreamer has a VCA input that we could use to further enhance or modify the outgoing signal. So the main gist is that these Endorphins modules have a ton of different functions, a ton of versatility, and should be a lot of fun to play with. So without any further ado, let's check out some patches. So how could a typical patch look like? Well, in this case here, I've connected the harmonics output of the Godspeed, currently outputting a saw wave. And I'm using the two outputs of the Airstreamer, for one to control the post-effects VCA, as well as to control the filter frequency of the Ghost. Because I'm controlling the post-effects VCA instead of the pre-effects VCA, the delay and the reverb will also be volume controlled by the Airstreamer. This will give us a slightly different flavor of sound compared to end-of-chain effects, as you will hear shortly. So here's the dry filter sound, and now listen how the sound changes when we add a little bit of delay. here we have an immediate, really rich sound. And listen how nicely this system reacts to parameter changes. Nice. Using the foldable sine wave output, we get a bit of a thinner sound with its own characteristics. I've added a bit of FM modulation from the internal digital sine wave to spice things up. Here's a patch with and without FM modulation applied, to give you a sense of what kind of FM flavors you can achieve. You hear it can get quite aggressive. Let's try the wave folder as well, which tends to give slightly tamer results. What I particularly like about this setup is its ability to make beautiful drones. As you can see here, I'm using the Airstreamer as an LFO that controls the pre-effects VCA. We have the comb filter enabled, but most of the sound you hear is due to the high level of delay and reverb in the mix. And if you want your drones more distorted, you can use the distortion as well as the bit and sample rate reduction on your drones as well. And with a bit less reverb and delay, we can also create ethereal lead sounds. Inspired by the bitrate and sample rate reduction features of the latest Ghost update, I also decided to create a little drum kit that is inspired by the 8 and 12-bit drum machines of the past. Let's have a look at the final product before I talk about each of the elements in a bit more detail. So the kick is pretty easily made by using the envelope from the Airstreamer into the Ghost VCA and into the pitch output of the Godspeed. I'm using the sine wave output of the Godspeed, and I can adjust the settings of the Godspeed, such as the fold amount, to get a few different flavors of kick drums here. Adding another envelope to the FM amount can give me a bit more click and high end at the beginning of the kick. Optionally, you can also add a responding bass by having the reverb in reverse mode and adjusting the pre-delay. For the snare, I'm using the harmonics output of the Godspeed, and I've added a lot of noise. I'm also using a heavily folded sine as an additional frequency modulator at the beginning of the snare to give me just a bit more noise to work with. The signal then goes into the Ghost with some distortion, and crucially it has some bitrate reduction and sample rate reduction on it to give me a bit more of a crispy sound. And I've adjusted all these parameters for different flavors of snares. The heads were made quite similarly to the snare, where I'm using the sine output into the FM input of the Godspeed to create a lot of chaos in my oscillations. And here I'm using even more noise into the Ghost, where a high-pass filter is rounding off the sound. Depending on the flavor I want, I added a bit of sample or bitrate reduction, but not much else. And here are some of the flavors I got. Lastly, I combined the folded sine wave of the Godspeed with the filter and the delay line of the Ghost to create the rhythmic bass line for the track. What's great about this setup is that it can easily be expanded. For example, if we had 2 Godspeeds, we can set up a whole stereo track as the Ghost is completely stereo. You can see on this display that both of the Godspeeds are slightly out of tune. I've actually used the instant tune button to set them both to a C, but you can use the trim pot at the back of one of the Godspeeds to get it slightly out of tune, which is what I've done here to give me a bit more breadth in the stereo field for this patch. lastly, if you expand the setup with an external filter, you can use the Ghost as it is commonly used, as a separate multi-effects unit. I'm keeping this section of the video short because showing you all the possibilities of the Ghost as an end-of-chain effects unit would totally necessitate another video. As an additional idea to what we have already seen, I really liked it in parallel processing mode to add some detail and high frequency flavor to my bass patches. So let's put it all together for this final patch here. As my main voice, I'm using the Godspeed Ghost Airstreamer combo, as you have seen throughout the video. The bassline is a Godspeed into a 100 grid. And lastly, the percussions are provided by the Queen of Pentacles, controlled by the ground control. So here are my final thoughts on the Godspeed Ghost Airstreamer combo as a synth voice. The Godspeed, with its ability to wavefold, a sub-oscillator and addable noise, has actually a lot of sound sculpting capabilities that pair well with the filter on the Ghost. But the synth voice also offers the capabilities to add reverb, delay, sidechaining, compression, envelope following, and more to the mix, which gives the setup some synth flavors that other synthesizers might not have. I also like that this setup doesn't get outdated even when you grow your system, because as you have seen, the Ghost can easily go from filtering duty into doing end-of-chain effects, and the Airstreamer, besides doing envelopes, can do sample and holds, envelope followings, and be used as an LFO. So the multifunctionality of these modules almost guarantees that there will always be a place for them in your rack setup. So if you're new to your rack and you're looking for a system that might grow with you over time, I think this is the serious contender. If you already have a sizable system, then the Ghost with its unique combination of features might be worth a consideration. If you have any questions about this video or the modules, feel free to comment below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and see you all in the next video.